put 100 kids in the same situation, maybe only 20% would get out. So if there's something that I can share from my own learning experience of not having an open and honest relationship with my parents, is that be honest with your kids. Hi everyone, so today I went on a little sort of Instagram blurping of whatever that just come to my head, and I realized that this is actually a realization about myself and suffering that I have never been able to put into words until just. So basically about suffering is that a woman cannot trust a man who have never suffered before to lead. In this case, I'm talking about men who are like second gen rich, where they have never been through the suffering themselves, and they can provide a really good stability lifestyle for any woman that they date, thanks to, you know, their father's money or whatever it is. But the thing is, it's very difficult for a woman who have suffered before, like making her own money and getting to where she is today, to trust a man like that to lead, because you don't know how he's gonna react when things get rough, right? You don't know if you can trust him. You know you can trust yourself, but now you want a man that is able to just carry you. And a man cannot trust the woman that he has found after things are good. So a lot of people talk about the day one girl, right? A lot of guys talk about if you find a day one girl, the one that's been with you in the dust, you know, in the mud, then make sure to take care of her when you're up there, right? But the other side of it is when a guy didn't find their day one girl and they only find, you know, good girls after making it, they don't know if they are actually here for the money or because they're here for the person behind the money. So both ways, we actually would require people to suffer more in order for them to be trustworthy. How can a man even trust himself if he has never seen his darkest side? How he reacts when someone close pass away, how he reacts when things are going shitty. Does he lash out to his friends and family? Is he aware of how dark he can be? So my advice to a lot of people who are parents right now, I'm not a parent myself, but I do know a lot about suffering when I was younger, is to let your children suffer. You might think that a lot of times not telling them the truth is protecting them from, you know, maybe some emotions that might trigger them and not know how to deal with. But actually having them lash out and knowing how to fix themselves is a way better lesson, with less things to lose when you're younger than when you're older. Imagine a man who's lashing out at 40 years old. He has so much more to lose than a young 8-year-old boy who's lashing out, right? There's so much more to learn in the beginning of the years with less things to lose than if you were to learn it later in life. So I think what we can do right now is to be as honest with children as possible and expect them to be able to handle things. The more we think of children as these weak, vulnerable creatures that we have to protect constantly, the more they are not ready for the outside world. And I think that for me, reflecting on the pain that I have to go through when I was younger, it has prepared me a lot in regards on how to handle social circumstances, getting into trouble, how to get out of trouble, who I can look for, and just knowing that if I have something to fall back on, no matter how hard I screw up, it's a way better support system to me than not telling me anything at all. Alright, so let me get a bit more personal. For my childhood story, I have a lot of things that are hidden from me. So in order to protect me from the pain of knowing the truth about, you know, my parents splitting up, and thinking, you know, my parents think that maybe people in school would bully me for not having both parents, which is not true, but maybe it's true for their time, right? Back then, divorce is such a shameful thing to go through. And now, during my generation, so many divorces are happening that people in school just don't talk about it anymore. You know, no one is shaming each other. It's, you know, something that is not talked about. So I was hidden from that, but a lot of other things that was going around with my parents make me feel like, oh, so this is what a healthy marriage is, you know. So it put me in this other loophole of like, this doesn't look like a healthy marriage, but they are not divorced, but they are doing all these things that doesn't, why are they not, you know, together? Like, why are they not divorced already, right? So in that sense, I kind of feel like, because I was the youngest, both my siblings actually know about this, but I was hidden from it. So I guess I was just sort of a puppet for this story to play out in a way where the pain is not as bad for my parent, for my mom, right? It's so that she feels like she's at least protecting something. Out of the 3 kids, she's protecting at least one, right? But in my point of view, I feel that it's way more unhealthy for me to, you know, sometimes listen to her whispering to my siblings and then feeling outcasted, and then picking up on something that I know I'm not meant to hear and then acting stupid about it. I could have been a part of a conversation, right? I could have been, you know, like able to express myself, but because of this hiding, I was not able to. And therefore, I feel that during my younger years, I kind of became the bad child after drifting off from my mom, my sister, and my brother. I felt like, and my dad, I felt like I was the naughty one, because I didn't like how outcasted I feel. I started looking for more love, you know, in like my friends, and then I spent a lot more time just hanging out with my friends. And then obviously my mom got really worried, and she started talking to everyone about me, and not in a nice way, right? Like the life trajectory she planned out for me, if I go on doing this, is not the life that I personally wanted. So that caused even more drifting. So I feel that if there is an open and honest conversation with respect, that I can handle it, not knowing whether I can or not, would have been a much closer relationship than feeling outcasted by my own family. So for a few of my good like teenage years, I was topic of the family. My siblings became sort of like my parents, because everyone was trying to control, you know, like this crazy being. So in a way, I kind of feel as though I was the excuse to my mom's victim story. So we are much better now, which is why I can speak about it so openly. It's something that I learned, and I have outgrown it over the past few years. Like, our relationship have gotten better, and none of these things I'm talking about is happening anymore. But I just wanna have a little conclusion to this whole chapter of how it was like growing up, feeling outcasted by my family, feeling like I was the black sheep. And I also know of a lot of people who were the black sheep, and even until now, they are still in that trajectory of what I was going through, like drinking, partying, having my priorities not aligned. And I know how easy it is to get caught up in that dopamine cycle, and I'm just so blessed that I got out of it. But I know if you put 100 kids in the same situation, maybe only 20% would get out. So if there's something that I can share from my own learning experience of not having an open and honest relationship with my parents, is that be honest with your kids, because not everyone can make it out of that. I've seen people who are still trapped in that loop, and that's just one good relationship wasted, one, you know, that is a soul calling. You know, your child don't just come into your life if everything is not planned. And if you have the chance to shorten this karmic cycle of what you have to learn from each other, then shorten it and then go on to learn other things. And that is my main takeaway from this, is that this is what I learned from the relationship. And I understand that, you know, she had a story and she needed a bad guy, right? And for years and years of my life, I was the bad guy. And I understand why I drifted. It's because I didn't like that story she was saying, so I created my own. And not a lot of people is as lucky as me to have met, you know, the right mentors along the way, through multi-level marketing, through business, through books. It could have easily went the other way. So I feel that this time, you know, when I become a parent myself, I hope that this lesson that I'm speaking right now can come back to me when I feel like I want to protect this you know, this pure being soul. But instead of protecting by not telling her or him what is going on, I want to speak about how she can always have a good home to come back to. Okay, so I guess this is also the reason why I got into trading, because growing up, I've seen my mom suffer, and I feel that if one day I want to, what is successful to me is being able to provide for 3 kids myself as well. So it does sound a bit dark, you know, like my goal is to be able to afford single parenthood for 3 kids, right? But it's also something that is sort of relatable to me, and a goal that I'm able to measure, because I know what it's like to not have my mom around when I'm sick, and she's, you know, always working. And then growing up with my grandma, which I love, you know, having this ancient wisdom at home of not going to the doctors when I need to, because she always has something in the cabinet to give me for any sort of ailments. But I also know what it's like to not have new clothes when I want them, you know, only wearing things that are passed down, having clothes that are way too big, you know, underwear that are like dropping off my hips, because, you know, there's an obvious size difference to my sister who's 3 years older than me, and having to roll, you know, the pants, the seam of my pants, just for them to hold up in the childcare. Like, I was hanging out with all the different friends and all that, and I constantly have to, you know, pull up my pants while playing with them. So I know what that was like. And it's not to say that I have a very sucky childhood. In fact, I feel like I learned a lot by being in children care, by making friends. And then I think all along I've just been always pushing the limits and testing boundaries, right? So I used to be very manipulative and, you know, see how much I can get away with bullying people. And through that experience from young, I felt like, okay, I know how bad I can be, and therefore how sucky it feels to be bad. And now I'm at that stage where I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do that to people anymore. So I think it's very important for you to know yourself when you're younger. Whatever, you know, ways you might take to get there, just go through a bit of suffering to know who you truly are. Yeah, so my goal is to basically have more time, right, than what my mom had for us, for my kids, and also have enough money to support all of them. And that's why I feel like trading has always been the answer for me when it comes to time, when it comes to freedom, and when it comes to personal development. I feel like trading has always been the one that is challenging me, forcing me into stoicism, philosophy, principles and values, because the market can change all the time. And what you have with you is your resilience, your grit. And this is the direct reflection of what you can expect from yourself when you have been a trader for at least like 3 years, when you push through over and over again, restart over and over again. This is when you truly know yourself and how persistent you are when it comes to your craft. And that is a relationship that can't be replaced with any full-time job. The amount of trust you have on yourself to know that you can always have your back is one of the biggest lessons that I took away from trading. So I think I just got really lucky that I have this pain early in my life for me to want to work towards something that is tangible, which is, you know, in this aspect, time and money. And yeah, and staying true to that goal, no matter how many years I spent, you know, working on trading on the side and having a full-time job. The vision was clear. Every time I leave a job, I find something that's a bit closer to trading, a bit closer to trading, a bit more free time, a bit more mind expanding, even if it's sales. Yeah. So yeah, right now, I'm at that stage where I'm quite happy with where I am, where I can spend more time just reflecting on all of these thoughts, reflecting on all the conversations I have with my friends and how they inspire me to think of all these quotes in my head. And it's true, because for me, I don't think I would trust a man to lead if he has never suffered before? If you know, why are we attracted by people with good body? Because they push themselves through the pain. And that is just one aspect of, you know, discipline, of like showing up for themselves. Like, you have to have a relationship with yourself in order for you to push hard, right? So that is what I see on top of like a beautiful body. And then how it translates into everything else is individual already. And that is why the filtering comes, or whether you are with the right person. Okay, my computer just started, so I guess it's time for the charts. Sometimes I feel my videos or vlogs are incomplete unless I add some sort of a trading aspect to it. So the last clip you seen was yesterday at 5 p.m. and right now it's the next day morning. So I'm gonna show you the trade that I took about 10-11 p.m. yesterday after that tiny little talking video that you saw. So yesterday's trade have no bias because it was a Monday, there was no news, and I was just expecting price to, you know, show me some sort of price action, and then I'll just take a trade based on macro timing. So ICT also released a video on 6 May, which is yesterday itself. He did non-bias trading at 8:30 when market just opened, and he was able to catch, you know, the long and the shorts as well in a single time frame, so a single like session. So after that, it kind of just inspired me to be like, yeah, I don't need a directional bias as well. So let's get into it. I started off with, you know, the usual like monthly, weekly, daily, but I know that it wouldn't have an impact on the days where there are not much news. So this is what I was looking at. So I started with NASDAQ. Here you can see this is NASDAQ. And then I started selling short when I see this break of structure down. So during this break of structure, right, back into this fair value gap, which is created during 10, this is part of the previous macro cycle. So this would have been the ideal entry, right? But I came in a bit late thinking that, oh, price just gave us another opportunity to short. But as you can see, it decided to, you know, continue just making its way sideways. And at that same timing, around here, right, there was nothing on the ES. And then as we go into the second macro timing, which is the 10:50 to 11:10 timing, at 10:50, this was the perfect entry for this fair value gap, which is why I place an order here with my stop loss above, and then 1:2.3, take profit at 50% of the entire New York range. So the range was formed between, you know, 9:14 all the way to 10:42, and then I just take it to the 50%. So this trade itself gave us a 1:2.3, while over here, by the time price actually gave the TP1 for ES, as in the take profit for ES, I was anticipating for, you know, NASDAQ to go down into this fair value gap, which you can see it didn't happen because of this divergence. I was expecting it to move a bit more, but it did not happen. So I pushed my stop loss to break even and got out at this candle here. So this was a 1:2.3, and this is a break-even trade. Yeah. So mainly, what was my deciding factor was firstly the divergence. So you can see that obviously without the divergence, it did not play out, right, well, unless I was to take my profit at the 50% of this as well. Let's see, here's the low to the high. Yeah,
So the 50% would have been here, because this current 50% is taken when the next high was created. So it would have been just a 1:1.25, which isn't the most ideal risk to reward, because I entered way early and I put my stop loss above the bodies of this high. So what would have been a better entry is after this divergence have happened, and then look out for this fair value gap over here, and then taken profits at the 50%. This would have given us a 1:2.63. So the first entry was taken at the 9:50 to 10:10 macro, the setup that is formed during that macro, but the entry doesn't have to be within that macro itself. And then the second one was only after the divergence, which is a better one, and also the macro for 10:50 to 11:10. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed today's video and learned something in regards to the price action without any form of bias. Thanks to ICT posting that video just before I decided to take this trade. I somehow find his videos are always coming at the perfect timing. And I used to study all of his stuff, like a 9 to 5 worker, right? I put in so much time into learning his stuff in the beginning that now I just have to pick up, one of his videos, even just a 3-minute video, for me to pick up something valuable and have enough confidence to go in and trade. So I hope that one day you guys can get to this stage as well, because you don't always have to spend 8 hours studying his stuff. Just know that there's a light at the end of this tunnel and you'll always get better. So thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you guys in the next video. Bye.